What's up, Bayside Church? Brandon Short here.
And Lexi, and we're your hosts for this weekend.
Friends, today, Lexi and I just want to start by giving you a hope report. I'm talking about just a snapshot of all that's going good. A lot of what we're hearing in our world is negative and discouraging, but there are some amazing things that are going on right here in our church. So we've started this new segment. We're starting it today, the Weekend Report with Lexi and B. Now, you may be thinking right now, Bayside Church, this is kind of like Saturday Night Live, and you're exactly right, except with no satire and it's all literal.
And nothing like it really at all.
Fair.
Well, we've got the chance to share some great news with you guys, and it's happening at every campus across our region. This weekend alone at Folsom, they got the chance to give over 200 lunches and dinners to our healthcare heroes over at Folsom Mercy Hospital. Great job, Folsom.
Unbelievable. Our team at Bayside Adventure has been making, I want to make sure you hear me say this, they have been making 1,000 medical face shields a day.
A day.
And now, I mean, listen, they're doing all the social distancing and they're sanitizing everything, but they're having to open up a second location to make more because the volunteer response has been so heavy. They've actually got 18,000 made and delivered.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and Midtown's got the opportunity to continue serving our displaced community through these shelter-in-place orders. We're partnering with tons of organizations, including the Sacramento Police Department, to give showers, food, hot meals to our displaced community. It's been an amazing opportunity to wrap our hands around some of the most vulnerable people in our area right now. And there actually is a clip from the Sacramento Police Department, and we get to see the awesome work that's happening. Check out this clip right now.
Yeah, you know, we're just all about loving on our community, especially, and you know, we love on our community all the time, but even these times we really feel like we just really need to make an extra step. And so, you know, today what you saw is us continuing to serve the homeless community here in Sacramento by providing food and showers and clothes. And then, you know, like as so many of us know, that we have a population of people that cannot leave their homes and money has been cut short. And so we just want to make sure people get food. And so we just gave our friend Jerry some food, some groceries, and then some pre-cooked meals. And so, yeah, we just want to make sure people are still getting taken care of, making sure that they get what they need. And that's what Bayside is all about, just loving on the community that we're in.
Man, Lexi, Terrence is a good friend of both of us.
Absolutely.
I mean, Terrence, big shout out to you, big shout out to our Midtown community and all that's going on down there. I mean, there's just so many stories of good news, but we know that there are some of you that are watching right now that have a story to tell.
Right.
Maybe it's a story of generosity. Maybe it's a faith story. Maybe you just put your faith in Jesus this Easter. Maybe it's a story of compassion. But we want you to know, if you have a story to tell, we want to know about it.
Yeah.
We want to hear about it. We want to read it. And then we want to share that in the appropriate places within our community. So what we want to encourage you to do, even right now, is text STORIES, STORIES, to 56316.
You know, Brandon, my favorite stories in the past 10 years, most of them have come from our breakaway camps.
Absolutely.
Yeah, our church totally believes that because kids matter to God, they definitely matter to us.
Yeah.
So we get the opportunity to surround kids every summer. This summer is no different. You know, I was thinking about this, and our breakaway camps are actually some of the anchor points for some of the community work we do across the region. I know in Midtown, what started as a summer camp transitioned into a summer school. And for years now, we've been able to help kids who are the most at risk, really help them prevent summer slide in their areas. So Breakaway is a huge deal to us, right, Brandon?
Oh, absolutely. And you guys are probably watching at home wondering, what on earth is all this for? So like, what is this? What are these balloons and these checkered flags? This is actually an actual stoplight. I mean, if you were here right now, you would know this 4-foot thing that's blazing light into the back of my head right now is real. Hear me say this, every single year we have tried to be really creative because we theme Breakaway every single year. We've had pirates, dinosaurs, I mean, it has been all over the map. And this year is no different. And we're going to reveal it. Today we're going to reveal, and this is a huge deal. If you've been around Bayside, you know that. If you're new, you need to know that. It is a huge deal, but nobody is more excited than we are right now to be able to give that to you guys. Actually, first, before that, would you watch a recap video of a breakaway from a year past? Absolutely amazing. Friends, we have two very exciting announcements.
Very exciting.
And the first is, just to reiterate, Breakaway is happening.
Going down.
You may be thinking, with our shelter in place, with all of this, listen, we don't know the future, but what we do know is that Breakaway is happening. And we've even been talking about, like, if this goes online, the reach could be even farther than it's ever been.
Totally.
Every state, different nations, we're thrilled about it. But you need to know, as we've been starting with our creative team to develop what Breakaway may look like, no matter where it is or on what platform, it's going to be one of the greatest experiences your kids have ever had.
Right. I heard from the team that if we do end up going online, every kid is going to end up getting a special Breakaway experience box delivered straight to their doors. So you guys just got to know they've been in the lab dreaming, working, praying about this, and we really cannot wait to reveal more to you guys.
Oh, absolutely. I've heard the words it's going to put, if it's online, it will put your Xbox to shame. So let your kids know that. The second very special announcement we have, again, is that we will reveal the theme. But hear me say this, we're not going to reveal it right now. We're going to wait until the end of service, but we do want to show you one more quick, just fun video. You know, our senior staff was coming together this week. Oh, they're thrilled.
They're so excited.
And we came together this week to tell our staff what the theme was. Our staff didn't even know, and they put this together. Check this out. Wait, Dan. Lexi, that was super close.
That was really close.
We don't want to give them too much too early.
We can't give it all away. We got to have you guys back here right after service. Hop in with your families, and all together, we're going to hear exactly what the theme is. It'll be a big reveal.
It's going to be huge.
Well, we have great news coming your way, more good news. We're about to ready ourselves for worship, an amazing service. We're going to hear about relationships, and then right after that, we're going to come right back here for the big reveal. So let's get ready for service. Let's head inside. Welcome to Bayside.
To your inspiration level when you realize the sun's not setting, the sun is rising, and we haven't even got started yet. Then you end up with inspiration for your home, for your kids, for your family, and for your future.
Jump into compassion, jump into truth, jump into love, jump into reconciliation, jump into justice, and let no wall keep you from being changed by God. Preach.
Bayside, welcome to church. We are so glad that you are with us. No matter where you are today, let's let our praise be a weapon that combats the darkness that comes against us. Let it be a password that unlocks His presence in our lives. Come on, let's get up. Let's lift our voice. Here we go. We praise your name. We sing. Let praise be a weapon that silences the enemy. Let praise be a weapon that conquers all anxiety. Let it rise. Let praise arise. We wants to bring it today. Come on, we sing. And this is what living looks like. This is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise you, we praise you. This is what living looks like. This is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise you, we praise you. This is what living looks like. This is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise you, we praise you. This is what living looks like. This is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise you, we praise. We'll see you break down every wall. We'll watch the giants fall. Fear cannot survive when we praise you. God of breakthroughs on our side. Forever lift him high. With all creation cry, God we praise you. We praise your name. Oh, we praise you. Oh, we praise you. Come on and lift some praise. Yeah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah is the highest praise, Lord. We give you the highest praise, God. You're worthy of it, God. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. Yeah. Worthy of my praise. You are Alpha and Omega. You are Alpha and Omega. The beginning and the end. You're the beginning and the end. You're the same yesterday, today, and forever. Same yesterday, today, and forever. I praise your name. I praise your name. Alpha and Omega. Alpha and Omega. The beginning and the end. You're the beginning and the end. You're the same yesterday, today, and forever. Same yesterday, today, and forever. I praise your name. I praise your name. Hallelujah. Holy, 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 holy. You're worthy of my praise. Hallelujah. Holy, 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 holy. You're worthy, God, of my praise. Somebody lift a shout. Yeah. Oh, we declare it, God. There's nobody like you, God. You're worthy of my praise. So worthy of my praise. Yeah. You are Alpha and Omega. The beginning and the end. You're the same yesterday, today, and forever. Come on, I praise your name. I praise your name. Alpha and Omega. You're the beginning and the end. You're the same yesterday, today, and forever. I praise your name. I praise your name. Hallelujah.
Hey Granite Bay family, can I just start this moment by saying, I really miss you, and hopefully you miss me too. We're missing one another. It was really interesting last week when I was preaching. I don't know if you saw that. And I took a walk outside. We went to the crosses. How many people in the comment section were just going, I miss that campus. I miss the place. And you and I know that church is not a building. Church is the people, but that's what I miss. I miss you. And Paul said that to churches in his letters. He said, every time I think of you, my heart just wells up with gratitude and with thanksgiving. And that's what I want to say to you as well. I miss you, but I am thankful to God for you. Your levels of generosity have been amazing. And we're trying to do as much as possible at this time to help people in the whole world of compassion. Generosity happens, compassion is the outworking of that. And this is the really good news. Our partner, Convoy of Hope, delivered to the local food bank this week over £36,000 worth of food. Isn't that incredible? A whole bunch of you were over there and sorting that out with your masks on. You're incredible. And over 5,000 face masks at our Adventure campus, they've been put together. So in this season, I miss you. It's thank you. You're incredible for all that you do. That's why this offering moment is so important, because you, through your generosity, make so many things happen. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pray. I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to pray for this offering, and we're going to enter back into the presence of God in worship after I pray. Let's pray. Father, I want to thank you so much that you care for us, even in this season. Lord, you are still providing for us. And I pray for people out there, Lord, who are struggling at the moment, Lord, who feel under financial pressure. I pray, God, would you help them at this moment and be their provider and work miracles. And I pray, Lord, for all of us, that, Lord, we would continue, Lord, through compassion, to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. Lord, I pray too for this worship moment. Lift our hearts and lift our spirits as we lift our eyes to you. We're going to sing that song, Build My Life.
Worthy of every song we could ever sing. Worthy of all praise we could ever dream. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Oh, we live for you. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Oh, we live for you. And holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are, and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Lead me, Jesus. Oh, worthy of every song we could ever sing. Yeah. Worthy of all the praise we could ever bring. Oh, you're worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Oh, we live for you, Jesus. Hey, Jesus. I will not be shaken. I will not be shaken. I will not be shaken. I'm gonna stand on your word, Jesus. I will not be shaken. I will not be shaken. I will not be shaken. Come on, right where you are, sing it out with us. Oh, I will not be shaken. No, no, no. I will not be shaken. No, no. I will not be shaken. Oh, I will not be shaken. 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 Oh, no, no.
Because of God's love, you and I will not be shaken. What a great reminder. Hey, I'm Pastor Curt, and I just want to take a couple minutes studying the Bible. This is what we do around Bayside all the time. We're going to look at Romans chapter 12. There's a little tab right there for your notes, or you just take some notes on a piece of paper, and let's ask this question: how can we reboot every single relationship in our lives? You know, if we're not going to be shaken, that means we have to have solid relationships, both with God and with each other. And the Bible is great at this. And let's be honest, sometimes our relationships do get shaky. I remember one time we had the opportunity to present our ministry. I was working with campus ministry at this time in front of a very wealthy foundation. We were writing a grant for them. It was an opportunity of a lifetime. In fact, very, very few organizations got this opportunity. Man, we did months of research. We had all the stats. We had all the arguments. We had grant writers that helped us craft it. And on the morning of the presentation, we got this advice that we needed to change the executive summary. You know what that is? That's the front page of the grant proposal. It's the most important part. We made the changes. They were genius. We were moments away from the presentation. We just said, all we have to do is print out the executive summary again. So we hit print on the laptop, and I bet you can guess what happened. Nothing happened. In fact, what happened is we got this error code, unable to start the printer. Error code 122, error #3145. How many have gotten that error code before? What does it mean even? I can't find the printer. There's low ink on magenta or yellow. I'll tell you what that error code means. It means every time that Satan was cast out of heaven and into my printer. That's what that error means. I started to panic. First, I hit the return button on my laptop about 50 times. Then I slapped the printer like that would do good. And then I came to my sense. I did what you're supposed to do, what all of you already know what to do. I yanked that plug out of the wall, I cut off the power, and I rebooted the printer. The second I rebooted that printer, the laptop started to speak to the printer, and all of these print projects that had been held up for the last week started coming out. Emails and recipes and financial reports, and finally, our executive summary. And the day was saved. My friend, I don't care if it's your phone or your email or your calendar, or your Instagram, your Facebook page, that YouTube video your brother-in-law sent you with the puppy. If it actually stops your browser from working, you know what to do. You hit refresh, you hit reboot, you restart it, you reload it. What if we could do that with our relationships? What if we could find the love, acceptance, and forgiveness of God, and based on that foundation, spend this time rebooting our relationships, getting them unstuck? You see, there's really two forms of this. The first form is a refresh. Refresh your browser. What's a refresh? It's reloading the original program. It's reloading the app again so that it'll work. And then there's another more intense version, and that is a total reboot. That's starting over from the original operating system. Some of us today need a refresh. You just need to get that will of death out of your life and get that browser working again. And some of us need a total and complete return to the original operating system. Here's the good news, friend. We know exactly where in the Bible to find the reboot in relationships from God. It's Romans chapter 12. I want you to look, if you're looking at the notes, and I hope you are, we have this little word on our notes. Here at Bayside, we believe in teaching the Bible in context. Context is really important, and especially when it comes to this passage we're going to study today. You see, Romans, it's a masterpiece of theology. It tells us all who you are, who God is, how we should interact with each other. And what happens in Romans is for 11 chapters, Paul goes after one issue. Write this sentence down if you're taking notes, and I hope you are. For 11 chapters, Paul explains the power of grace. Grace is the unmitigated, undeserved, unearned love of God. Grace is where God decides to give you favor even though you don't earn it or deserve it. Grace is God's preemptive commitment to you. And Paul needs to teach about this before he teaches about relationships, because you cannot have a better relationship unless it starts with your relationship with God. See, he teaches this. We're all sinners. And he teaches this. God's grace is available for all. And by teaching about grace for 11 chapters, he sets us up to have better relationships with one another. How does he teach about grace? Over and over again, he says, God loves you, died for you, conquered death, and that has always been his plan. And then he pivots at chapter 12. He pivots off of the love of God onto how you and I ought to love each other. Chapter 12, verse 9, we're going to take it up right from verse 9 where Paul begins these series of exhortations about us loving one another better. Here we go. Verse 9, love must be sincere. Hate what is evil. Cling to what is good. Be devoted to one another in love. Honor one another above yourselves. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Share with the Lord's people who are in need. Practice hospitality. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Mourn with those who mourn. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be proud, but be willing to associate with people of low position. Do not be conceited. Were you counting? 21 relational exhortations there. 21. Why does Paul give us so many things to do in terms of our relationship? I'll tell you why. Because we need it. Because we don't do relationship that well. You put a little bit of stress on us, and why? Our relationships start falling apart. You see, there's nowhere in your notes for this. You just got to find some white space to write this down. Why should we refresh our relationships? I was thinking about this week. There's 4 reasons. First of all, chaos is doubling in our world. We've given ourselves too much information too fast, and we've become too tired. It's more and more chaos. Comparison is also dividing us. We're looking at one another with jealousy nowadays. We have constant condemnation in our souls that somehow our life isn't measuring up to everyone else's lives. Chaos is doubling, comparison is dividing, and confidence is dissolving. Anxiety is on the rise in our world. More and more young people, more and more middle-aged people, more and more kids, more and more marriages that I talk to as a pastor are dealing with the issue of anxiety. If chaos is doubling and comparison is dividing and confidence is dissolving, here's the true casualty. Connection is dying. Do we really know how to be friends anymore? Do we really know how to keep deep and satisfying relationships in our life? We've gone so good at networking, but I think we've suffered in actually being friends. What would happen if we did Romans chapter 12? Here's the bad news. Our relationships were stressed way before the pandemic, way before there was any problem with viruses. You and I, in this culture, saw divorce on the rise, uncivil dialogue on the rise, and an increasing conflicted culture. Some of us have come into this pandemic with pre-existing conditions in our relationships. But there's good news too. Could it be that this pause, this quarantine, this disruption of our daily routine is an opportunity? Could it be that this is our chance to reject chaos and comparison and double down in confidence and connection with each other? I think right now, if we apply this stuff, there's a marriage out there that could be saved. I think right now, sir, if you really take this, I know it's hard when you're on the couch and listen, but if you really take this material serious, your relationship with your son can be saved. Somewhere there's a couple roommates and you haven't talked to each other in a month. It's miserable in your apartment. This could be the day of change for you. Let's not let chaos or comparison cause us any more anxiety. God wants us to connect. If we'll work his word, it will work. How do you do it? What's the practical application here, Curt? What is Paul really saying here? How do we refresh our relationships? My son, he worked in IT for a couple of years. He told me this story a couple of weeks ago. He had this panicked teacher call him and say, my computer is dead. I 100% absolutely have lost all of the kids' records. Is there anything you can do? I cannot get this computer to come on. He raced right up to the high school. He ran into the classroom. He looked at the CPU and he couldn't get it to come on either. And then he paused and he looked at the monitor and he took his index finger and he pressed the power button on the monitor and the monitor came on. My friends, sometimes it's just as simple as turning the power on in our lives. And sometimes we need a monitor in our lives. We need something in our lives to tell us the direction to go. I'm going to talk about 4 principles right now. 4 principles that will both turn the power on in our life and cause God's word to monitor how our relationships are going. Are you ready for them? Here's the first one. Refresh simple decency. I got to tell you, my friend, nice in the end is going to win. And this is what Apostle Paul is saying. He's saying, be sincere, hate what's evil, cling to the good. Don't let your heart become cynical. There's a power in just deciding to be simply decent. Just being nice. In fact, if you look at this passage, there's 3 key words in here. Think about each one of these words. The first one is sincerity. Let love be sincere. What does that mean? It means that I cultivate in myself affection for others. My friend, each and every one of us have a little old man living inside of us. He's that get off my lawn. He's grumpy and cynical, and the more our life gets on, the more he has to complain about. Come against that little old man in your life. Put a smile on your face. Sincere love means that I don't have an agenda with anyone in my life. I'm just being nice because nice is right. And then there's another word. It's the word honor. Now, I love this word honor. What honor means is that I'm cultivating not just affection, but I'm cultivating meaning for others. I'm noticing people. You know what powerful things can happen in your world if you just start noticing the people around you more? Really listening, complimenting them, being in awe about who they are and what they can do. It's so easy to figure out what's wrong with each other. It's much harder to give the gift of honor. But when you give that honor, when you cultivate that noticing of people, it has a huge impact on them. So cultivate that sort of affection, that sincerity, cultivate honor. And then there's a last word in there. He says, not only to be sincere, not only to honor, but to have zeal. What does it mean to have zeal? A lot of times we think about zeal, we think about preachers on the street corner preaching against hell. That's what religious zeal kind of means to us. But that's not religious zeal to the Apostle Paul. This is so cool. You know what religious zeal to the Apostle Paul means? It meant cultivating harmony. The most zealous, passionate religious people get along well with others. If you're a religious person and you don't get along with anyone and you're online correcting everyone's theology and you're always fault finding, you are not zealous in the way that the Apostle Paul teaches. What would happen if you and I had a zeal for harmony, a passion for harmony? I guarantee you who does? Jesus Christ. That's why he came and died for us so that we could be reconciled with God and reconciled with each other. Okay, that's point number 1. Simple, straightforward decency. What's point number 2? Refresh daily devotion. What does it mean to refresh daily devotion? Well, we preached about this a lot and taught about it a lot in the last few months. It means to take care of yourself spiritually. God wants us to put others first. We'll talk about that in a second. But he wants you to take care of your soul as a primary objective of your life. What does it mean? It means to practice hope to be patient in affliction, and to be faithful in prayer. Are you getting that quiet moment in the morning? Man, don't do it where you're doing your Zoom calls. You can't meet with God in the same place you're doing your Zoom calls, my friend, or your team calls or your Skype calls or whatever. Find another spot. I've been taking my allergy medicines and going out in the backyard because meeting with God in prayer is what causes me to be patient in affliction and develops the hope in my life. So number one, you want your relationships to reboot, you got to have simple decency. And number two, you have to have daily devotion. You have to refresh that. And here's the one I really want to teach on. You have to refresh personal deference. Personal deference, you heard that right. Not personal preference. That's what our culture loves. I'm talking about personal deference. See, our world loves preference. We're dying right now. We're going through withdrawals. Why? Because we can't get Amazon in 24 hours. Oh God, I want a dress and some tools and a hose and I need some crispy treats and I want them all in the same box and I want them to get here in 24 hours on Amazon double prime with glory. My friend, I think it's a good thing that we can't get everything we want. Let's think about this. Is preference really making us happier? This idea that we get everything we want right when we want it, is it increasing our marriages? Is it building our friendships? Is it creating a national dialogue where we're loving each other better and talking intelligently and reasonably about all of our problems? Or could it be that putting preference above deference is harming us? What is deference? Here's a definition of deference: the skill of putting others above yourself. Or we might say, the best description of every motive, miracle, word, and deed Jesus Christ ever did. The most successful human ever was not a person about preference. He was a person about deference, deferring to the needs of others. Paul catches this, and he puts this incredible list in for us. Paul's deference list. He says, first of all, deference in giving. He wants you to share with those who have needs. You know what I did this week? I sent the gal that cuts my hair enough money for a haircut and a tip that I didn't get. And I sent it to her because she's a small business owner and I think she's a courageous business person and I want her business to do well. And frankly, when she actually does cut my hair sometime in the future, it's going to be such a snag, nasty mess. She's going to need double pay to get through this. And also, it just feels good. It feels good to say, you know, instead of worrying about all the things I need, I'm going to help someone out that has a need. Who in your life right now? It might be your landscaper. It might be your barber. It might be your favorite waiter or waitress. It might be someone that owns a small business. And you're just going to give them something and not expect to be paid back just because it's right. Wouldn't it be a wonderful world? Wouldn't every one of your relationships get better if you started to become a giver? Here's the first deference. Deference in giving. He says this: share with the Lord's people who are in need. Then he moves on. Deference in serving. I love this one. Practice hospitality. What does practice hospitality mean? It means that you're such a world-class servant that people seek you out to be served by you. I have lots of friends like this. Scott Shaw, you're one of those friends. Oh, the Kramers, you guys are awesome. My friend Olivia, she knows how to practice a particular form of hospitality. I think it's just a spiritual gift. It's called a charcuterie board. Charcuterie. That's right, Isabel McCourt. I'm using French in my sermon. I don't even know what the origin of charcuterie is. I just like saying charcuterie, and more than saying it, I like eating charcuterie. Look at this charcuterie board she makes. I mean, this thing, it's nuts and cheeses and jams and meats and nuts and cheeses and jams and meats, and oh my goodness, you sit down before that thing, it's like every single little bit of it. Go in for the close-up, guys. Every single bit of it has been perfectly arranged just for me. I got a question for you. Who needs to be waited on in your life? Who do you need to flip the towel over the arm and just go straight up to them and do your best French waiter routine and serve them and treat them with hospitality? I'll give you a little hint who it is. I know who it is. Whoever in your household annoys you the most, you go charcuterie them. Go serve them. Go practice hospitality. You know when it's really hard to stay mad at someone? when they're feeding you and loving you and serving you? So, first of all, Paul wants us to do the deference of giving, then the deference of serving. By the way, every single Friday, we're doing Family Meal Friday, hashtag Family Meal Friday. Man, I encourage you, get those family meals going. And here's the third one, and this one's really gonna hit home for some of these households. Deference in arguing. Deference in arguing. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. You know what's really exhausting? Being right. It's really super exhausting to be correct all the time. I'm going to give you some advice, my friend. Can you go one whole week and lose every single argument? I mean, the one about the thermostat, that's a big one. I want you to lose it every single day. Who picked up those dishes? I want you to lose that argument. Who's had the bad attitude and who had the snippy voice and who needs to learn to appreciate what you do in your household a little bit more? I want you to go on a losing streak because I don't want you to be as tired as you are. When you're defending every single one of your preferences, you're exhausting yourself. But when you lay down your life, by the way, does that remind you of anyone? Who had the ultimate ability to win the argument but didn't? Jesus Christ. He laid down his life. Someone in your house is having a contentious time with you. I want to encourage you to stop winning the arguments and start winning the person. So Paul wants us to have deference in giving and deference in serving and deference in arguing. And the last one is this: deference in understanding, deference in empathy. You know what's really hard to do sometimes? Let yourself feel emotions. Some of us, we've gone through this defining moment holding our emotions so tight that, well, we're hurting the relationships around us by holding our emotions that tight. Some of us, we're afraid that if we laugh, that it won't be respectful or it won't actually feel correct or right. I want to tell you, my friend, the joy of the Lord is our strength. You can mourn and laugh at the same time. You can be sad and stressful and find joy at the same time. Let yourself laugh. Let yourself reconnect with the joy of the Lord. And if you've got someone in your life who's laughing, you laugh with them. In fact, I'm praying for each and every one of you to find that laughter. I think it's one of the ways we survive all this. Here's the saying I've said for years: laugh or go insane. Those are your two choices in this broken world. And here's another thing. Not only laugh or go insane, you have to cry or stay miserable. My friend, you gotta let some of those bad emotions out. And when you find someone who's mourning, you mourn with them. My daughter, when we lost our dog, man, she cried and cried. She refused to let me make her be in the waiting room. She came in the doctor's office, and when the dog passed, I mean, she just cried and cried and cried. I started thinking as a dad, maybe I shouldn't have let her see that. And she insisted, and maybe it was a mistake. She cried all the way home. We got in the living room. She cried for 15 minutes on the couch. I mean, just bawled and cried. Then she looked at me and she said, "Okay, I'm done being sad." And she got up and she started playing. Some of you need to have a good cry and just get it out and get your eyes back on God. Let's look over that deference list again. It's so good. Deference in giving, find a place to be generous. Deference in serving, practice hospitality. Deference in arguing, start losing a few arguments. And deference in understanding, rejoice and mourn with the people around you. Which brings us to our very last point: a refresh in deliberate agreement. The Apostle Paul says this: live in harmony with one another. Have you ever heard two people sing and they just didn't have it? The note was just flat. Isn't that such a deeply disturbing thing when the note's not quite right there? I've had a few adolescents in my life working with youth that had oppositional disorder. It's a real disorder. And I want to tell you, nothing exhausts you more than dealing with someone who can never agree with you. What would it mean for you and I to get in harmony with our God and with each other? what would it mean for the notes to line up? Do you like two-part harmony? Simon and Garfunkel, I know that's old school, but two voices perfectly blended together with the right notes. This is what God has for us if we'll live with simple decency, devote ourselves to prayer, and put our will on the back burner and defer to each other. Especially if we all do it together, mutual deference, where we're competing with each other to serve one another. When that happens, my friend, an agreement comes into our life. And where there's agreement, there's power. What would happen if this week in your apartment, in your home, in your life, you decided to walk in harmony, in agreement with one another? I'll tell you what would happen. Joy would go through the roof. And even in the midst of bad news, you would find the good. And you wouldn't feel alone. You wouldn't feel isolated. At the end of this passage, he says something really powerful. He says, don't be conceited. Be willing to associate with people of low position. Who is it that models that for us the best? Who is the ultimate example of loving people of low position? Well, the answer is obvious. It's Jesus. And I know this firsthand. Because when I read this passage, I never think of another group of people, another class of people. When I read that we should be associating with people of low position, you know who I think of? I think of Curt Harlow. When I was an adolescent, like a lot of people that come from a blended family, a broken family, I got this idea in my head that my life would be better if I just went and found my biological father. I got on a Greyhound bus, traveled across the state, and when I found him, I discovered, well, he didn't want me there. Didn't feel like I had a friend in the world. I didn't feel like my family wanted me. I didn't even like me. But it wasn't soon after that I discovered this. The God of the universe knew me and loved me and died on the cross for me. I can remember those first few weeks after deciding to follow Jesus. I went to this youth group. I didn't even know what a youth group was. I'd only been in one type of church and only a few times. And I went to this youth group and everyone in the youth group started hugging me. It was horrible for an adolescent boy. It was so freaky, but yet there was a part of me that went, no, and then went, yes. And I began to form in that youth group lifelong friendships. This week, a buddy of mine from all those years ago just called me out of the blue to ask for prayer for his daughter. And we talked on the phone for an hour. My friend, what Jesus did in me not only made me belong to him, it made me belong to a family. It rebooted every single relationship in my life. And you can have that reboot as well. You can have the reboot of your relationship with God and a reboot with every other relationship in your world. Right now, I don't care if you don't feel like anyone loves you, that you're isolated and misunderstood and no one quite gets it. The beginning step is accepting Jesus Christ. It's as easy as ABC. Admit that you need him. Believe and have faith and commit your life to him. I'm going to pray a prayer of rebooting for your life right now, that you would start a relationship with Jesus, or if you've been away from him, you would renew your relationship with him right now. I'm going to ask you to bow your head, my friend, and I'm going to pray out loud, and I want you to pray this prayer in your heart right now. God, I admit that I need you. I'm a sinner who needs your grace. Thank you for sending Jesus to die for my sins. God, I believe in Jesus. I put my faith in him. And right now, I commit my life to him every day and in every way. If you prayed that prayer, it's the most powerful and important thing that you can ever do. And we want to help you follow up. On a lot of our platforms, you're going to see an I raise my hand button. Here at Bayside, we give people a chance to accept Christ every weekend, and they raise their hand. You can hit that button, or you can simply type the word next to 56316. Text the word NEXT to 56316. We love you, God bless you, and we're praying for a total reboot in your relationships today.
Hey Bayside family, what an amazing service.
Yeah.
If you just prayed that I raise my hand prayer at the end of the service, there is a button in the chat right now for you to click. We want to get you connected. And if you're interested in next steps here at Bayside, whether that's a small group, getting your kid plugged in, or service, then you can text the word NEXT to 56316.
Absolutely. Friends, the moment you have all been waiting for has finally come. It's time for us to reveal the theme of this year's Breakaway. And to do that, we've brought in some of our best friends to help.
Special friends.
That's right.
Hey guys.
Hey guys.
Say hey to everybody.
Oh yeah. Bayside.
You guys look great.
You do. You look amazing. Bayside, you need to know this is Jack, Ava, Myers, and Piper, and they're going to help us today. Actually, we delivered gifts, presents, or at least hidden hints.
Super secret.
To all of their homes this week, and they actually all have those hints right now. So they're gonna open them, and then they're gonna guess what it is before we do the big reveal. So Piper, I think you're up first.
All right,
what is
Piper,
your gift?
What's in your gift?
I got a cone.
A cone.
A construction cone.
Okay.
I mean, it's a great first step, but
that can be a lot of things.
It could. It could go.
That can be a lot of things.
It could go a lot of different directions. Who's got number 2 for their gift? Myers. Oh yeah. They make things so hard to open these days, Lexi.
Yeah, we gotta keep it safe. This is a super top secret here at Bayside, the theme. So.
This is just recently declassified.
All right, Myers, what you got? Blue Kool-Aid.
It could absolutely be blue Kool-Aid.
I don't think it's that.
But I think, Myers, just to let you know, I think it's coolant.
Coolant.
Now, I know, Myers, you're a couple years away from a driver's license. But do you know what coolant is?
No.
Neither do Lexi and I, actually.
It'll all come together.
But it will all come together in a second.
Together.
All right, number 3. All right, Jack, give it to us. So, friends, so far we've got a cone and coolant. So at home, if you're watching right now, go ahead, let us know in the chat. What do you think right now is coming? What do you think the theme could possibly?
We've had jungle themes.
Oh, yeah, pirates.
We've had pirates.
All right, Jack.
A map.
A map.
What's it a map of?
Like a map of California, crossing California.
Oh my gosh, that's a big map.
I think it says Route 66.
I think it did say Route 66.
Right.
So we got a map, Lex, we got a cone, we've got coolant. All right, Ava,
Final clue.
I think honestly this pretty much rides on whatever your clue is.
All right, Ava.
All right. Oh, that one opened much easier.
That was a super easy open.
Cars.
Actually, cars.
Actual cars.
All right, guys, we need you to know, all of you, how many of you have been to Breakaway? Just give me a hand up. Did you absolutely, I mean, what would, if you could just say in one word your Breakaway experience, what would you say is Breakaway?
Ooh, a good question.
Creative.
Yeah, fun, exciting. I mean, what is just, when you think Breakaway, what do you think?
Extreme.
Extreme.
Fun.
We have a Breakaway Extreme.
We do, absolutely. So now that you guys know the hints.
Parkour.
Hardcore, I mean.
Hardcore or parkour?
Couldn't tell,
Both.
but I can tell you this.
Both.
Now that you have the hints, you guys, Myers, let's start with you. What do you think the theme of this year's Breakaway is?
Maybe like a racing theme?
Racing theme.
Heck of it.
That's a really good guess.
That's a great guess.
That's
Ava.
a great guess. Pressure's on.
I think it's from the Disney Cars movie.
Oh, Disney Cars movie.
That was a really good
How
one.
about Piper? What do you think?
I think it's a road trip.
Road trip.
Road trip. And Jack, you're the final one. What do you think?
I think I have to go with Radiator Springs because you have the cones and McQueen goes through all the cones and you have those cars, those mini cars that she got, and those are from Cars.
Myers is agreeing with you.
I would think Radiator Springs.
Inductive reasoning at its best right here,
All
Lexi.
the evidence leads to one thing. Brennan, we gotta let him know.
We gotta
what is the theme?
Listen,
I can't
kids,
wait.
I want you to celebrate with us as we let all of Bayside know right now the theme of this year's Breakaway is indeed Breakaway falls. Guys, what do you think? What's your reaction? What's your response?
I think that's amazing. That's unbelievable.
Jack thinks it's amazing. Myers, what about you?
I think it's going to be one of the best breakaways ever.
Friends, we could not agree with Myers more. We think this is going to be one of the best ones. This is going to put everything we've done before to shame. It's going to make your Xbox look like nothing. We are so excited, kids. Breakaway is coming. Bayside, thank you so much for tuning in with us again this weekend, and we are so excited for what's to come. Have a great rest of your week.